Hi there BookTube, it's Eleanor here, and this is the first of my Q&A videos. I think I'm going to have to do quite a few because I've had some wonderful questions and quite a lot of them on my 1000 subscriber Q&A slash giveaway. So what I've done is I've split them up, and this first one's going to be some of the more personal questions. So if you're not interested in me, which is fine, I totally understand, then skip this video and I'll do a more sort of bookish one at another point. So anyway, excuse me reading down, but there's so many questions, and I wanted to make sure I gave good answers, or at least fuller answers, so I've written things down. So I'm not going to read out who asked all of these questions. I'm just going to sort of bash through all the questions because there are so many, so I hope that's okay and nobody minds. So the first one of the questions I got was what countries I've been to. I've been really lucky in my life and I've been to quite a lot of countries. I've been to North America and I've been to quite a few places, and I'm probably not going to list them all, but I've been to Washington, Las Vegas, San Diego, Florida, San Francisco, Virginia, LA, and probably a few more because I travelled around a little bit with my parents on a holiday where we went to various places. I've been to Canada, France, Spain, Switzerland, Italy, Sweden, Denmark, Norway, Borneo, Australia, Egypt, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Germany, Turkey, Thailand, Malaysia, Rarotonga, and probably a few more which I have missed. What is your favourite thing to do with your family? I'm not sure if this person wanted to know as in, you know, a whole family get together, but generally we like to do things with the kids. I have obviously Matilda, and Jamie's stepsister has 2 children of similar ages, so we like to do things like going to the park or going to the zoo or getting together at families' houses. My brother has 3 children, but he lives in New Zealand unfortunately, so I don't get to see him very often. In fact, I haven't met 2 of my nieces, which is really sad, but I'm hoping we might get over there next Christmas, so I can't wait to meet them. So we've got quite small families. In my family really it's just my mum, my dad, me, my brother and my nan, so with only 1 sibling and him being in New Zealand, it's quite a small family. And my husband also has quite a small family, so family get-togethers aren't big old affairs, but both my family and my husband's family really like each other, which is wonderful. So often we find out they've all been out for dinner and not told us, so I love that. I love that they get on, so we tend to all try and get together occasionally when we can. What is my dream job? I've always just wanted to work in books really, whether that's in a bookshop or in a library or in publishing, but at the moment it's just not realistic for me. I couldn't do a full-time job, but maybe when Matilda goes to school I'll look into finding a job like that near me, so who knows, we'll see. Someone asked where my nicest place to visit's been. Just after I finished university I went travelling and I went to Borneo, and I went to Borneo with a charity who taught you how to scuba dive while you were there, and you did 2 scuba dives every day, and you were counting fish and doing fish checks for the fisheries, and it was amazing. It was a wonderful experience, and Borneo is just such a wonderful place. The people there are just so friendly, and they would give you the shirt off their backs. If they had nothing, they would give you everything they had, and they're such beautiful people, so that's probably my favourite place. Someone asked me about my day job. Well, I'm a full-time mummy at the moment, although 1 day a week I do work with my dad. My dad's a property developer and is not old, but he's starting to think about wanting to be able to retire a little bit more, and so he is passing a lot of that over to me, so that's quite exciting. If you want to know more about my past jobs, I did a degree in journalism and I worked in magazines for a while, and I also worked in schools, and I worked in sort of educational PR for a construction company as well. If I could read 1 language, any language, magically read and write it without having to do any work, what would it be? And that would be Spanish. I just love Spanish, and I think it's a beautiful language and I'd really like to learn it. I don't speak, somebody else asked me if I spoke any languages. I don't. I did French at school, but I'm a bit rubbish at languages. They just never seem to take with me. I was asked about my schedule with Matilda, what I do on a general day. We get up any time between 6 and 7 whenever I get the foghorn of "Mummy, Mummy, Mummy" from Matilda. And then we sort of slowly work ourselves up, get ourselves dressed and go down for breakfast together. And then in the morning we sometimes do a class. I take her to a lot of sort of climbing and art classes and fun classes with other children because she doesn't currently go to nursery. Or we have play dates, or we go to the park if it's nice weather, or we go to soft play, or we see family. Both mine and my husband's parents are retired, so sometimes I see them, and we just sort of get ourselves busy, do the shopping together. She still does about an hour and a half nap in the middle of the day, which is lovely. So we have lunch and then she has her nap and I read a book. And then in the afternoon we do a similar, you know, we might do another class or whatever's going on in the day or see friends. And then she has her dinner and my husband comes home and she's in bed by about 7:30. And then me and my husband have dinner together, and he often works at home in the evenings. He has quite a stressful job, so I have the evenings pretty much to myself. So I tend to read a lot, and that's how I get a lot of my reading or my video making done. Yamini, the wonderful Yamini, asked me about 1,000 questions, so I'm going to answer them in either this or the bookish ones. So one of the questions was, if I had another child, what literary name might I call them? I really love To Kill a Mockingbird, and in fact in my book video I may have to call it a drinking game, because I mentioned To Kill a Mockingbird so much that every time I mention it, if you took a drink, that would be a really good drinking game for people. But I like Atticus for a boy and I really like Scout for a girl. What's my favourite fancy dress? I'm not really that into fancy dress, if I'm honest. I always get a bit stressed when there's a fancy dress party, but I do remember a really, really good fun fancy dress that I went to a couple of years ago. It was my friend's 30th, and we went to a roller disco, and we all dressed in 80s roller disco outfits with tutus and leg warmers, and I loved that. That was really good fun. What essentials do I keep in my handbag? I've got a few. Always got my diary on me because I am the one that arranges and schedules everything for me and my husband and daughter. So I always have my diary with me. Wipes, because she's either being sick or snotting everywhere or needing her bum wiped. So definitely wipes. Chapstick, because I tend to get dry lips quite a lot and I like to keep one in everything that I could possibly can, you know, in coat pockets, in cars, in bags, just so I've always got one at hand. And also I try and carry my glasses around with me because I don't wear glasses on a, you know, all day basis, but I do need to wear them for reading, so I want to make sure I have them in case I get a chance to do a bit of reading during the day. And then she also asked what my favourite music is at the moment. I've listed off some of the people that I looked on my iPhone to see what I listen to. At the moment, I'm listening to a lot of Michael Bublé, Adele, Biffy Clyro, Brooke Fraser, Bruno Mars, Carly Rae Jepsen, Ed Sheeran, Lady Antebellum, and Train. So I'm loving all of those at the moment. Yes, 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 yes to Dorka Brain. Nicole, if you want to meet for lunch, if you ever come to the UK again, I am up for that. Let's do lunch and book shopping. Yes, yes, yes. And she also asked me what my favourite breakfast is. I absolutely love fruit on pancakes with some bacon, and America does this amazing. When we got married in Las Vegas, we went to San Diego and I had some of the best pancakes I've ever had in my life, and they just don't do them very well over here, but I think if I had a choice that would be my favourite breakfast. Someone asked me why I wanted to be a booktuber. Or have I always wanted to be a booktuber? I didn't even know booktube existed, and when my daughter was born, I found that I was tied to the house a lot because she wasn't very well. She vomited quite a lot with reflux, and I didn't like to leave the house as often as maybe I should, and so I found it really difficult to talk to people about books. I couldn't join many book clubs. I didn't want to be away from home, and I was just Googling different book clubs and different places to find out about books, and a video popped up and I started watching it and I was hooked, and I realised it was a community. I watched for about 4 months and then decided, right, I want to do this and I can do this, and my daughter was feeling much better and coping much better and sleeping through the night, and I thought, right, I can handle this, I want to get involved in this, and I started my booktube channel. Someone asked me if I would consider joining Bookstagram. I have to admit I am absolutely ridiculously rubbish at all social media. I just joined Twitter when I started my booktube because I really wanted to be part of that as well, because a lot of people use Twitter. I don't have a Facebook and I don't have an Instagram, but I'm totally up for finding out more about it. So if anybody wants to tell me how to find it, or a link to it, or show me or tell me where I can find out how it all works, then by all means do it, and I will definitely look into setting up a Bookstagram. Someone asked me how old I was when I had Matilda, and I was 30 when I had Matilda. She's 2.5 now, so I think I'm going to be 34 or 33 this year, something like that. When you get to sort of 30, you start to forget. They also asked if my family knew about booktube, and yes, I'm pretty open. All my family know. They're not that interested because they're not really bookish, but all my family know, and all my friends really know as well, but none of them are really that interested because they're not into books. I don't think any of them have ever watched any of my videos. My husband occasionally watches them, but yeah, other than that, people know, and it's, you know, I don't hide it, but people don't tend to be too interested in watching it because they're not booky, so it's not a problem. Someone asked me what my the hardest part about being a mum is, and I think sometimes it's just losing that time to just think. You're always having to be thinking about them, and they're either talking at you or you know, reacting with you all the time. There's just no time to just sort of sit and just let yourself be, and that's why I really enjoy reading, because when she's in bed and I have time just to sit, I can just immerse myself somewhere else and just relax. Also, it's really hard to remind yourself, when they get to a certain age, they look like proper children, you know, they look older, and you forget how old they are, and then you just have to learn to be patient and understand that they don't know how to behave in certain situations, and it's up to me to teach her. And so I, you know, don't get angry at her all the time. I just have to try and be patient. And also, I mean, one of the biggest things is that you're never going to spend a day of your life now not worrying about their well-being and worrying that they're okay, and that's quite a big thing. So there's lots of things, but don't, you know, they are the hardest bits. There are some beautiful, wonderful, I mean, I wouldn't change her for the world. Someone asked if I had any funny stories about Matilda, and I'm not very good at remembering things. She likes to tell everyone when she's done a fart. So she'll do a big fart and go, "Ooh, mummy, I farted." And if anybody else farts, she likes to say, "Pardon me." So if she hears a noise that sounds like a fart and we're out, she'll shout, "Ooh, pardon you, mummy." And that can be quite embarrassing at times, because obviously I never ever fart. So yeah, she shouldn't need to say it, but sometimes there are noises and she shouts them out, and it's hilarious. So that's a little anecdote, I suppose. Someone asked if my husband read. No, he doesn't really, much to my dismay. He probably reads one book a year. He's more into non-fiction than anything else. He might read one history book a year, but he's not really, he reads a lot of the newspapers and a lot of news, but he's not really into reading books as such. But it doesn't cause a problem for us because, as I say, he works a lot in the evenings, and so I get my book reading in then. And he totally supports everything I do. You know, he loves the fact that I found a hobby and a community and something that makes me really happy. Someone asked how many kids I had and if I would think about having any more. Matilda's my only at the moment. She's 2.5. I'd never say never, but at the moment we're not thinking about having any more. I had a really bad pregnancy, and when Matilda was born, she was only 4 pounds, which is really small, and so she was in hospital for 2 weeks in an incubator. She couldn't hold any food, so they had to put a tube through her veins into her stomach and feed her that way. She had a bit of jaundice. Then they discovered she had reflux, and she was on a lot of medication. And so when she came home, it was very difficult for me. I was a new mum. I'd never had children before. I didn't have any children in my family that I was sort of used to being around. And so, yeah, it was very difficult for a long time. And it's only recently that I've really started to be able to enjoy her without as much of the worry. So I don't think at the moment we're thinking about anymore. I think, if I'm honest, that's probably put me off a little bit. And I know that, you know, every time is different, but maybe when she goes to school then we'll consider it. But at the moment I'm more than happy with just the one. Someone asked me if I had a magical power, what I would do to make the world a better place. And I think if I had a magical power, it would be that it would be literacy, and that everybody could read. Because what a beautiful place it would be if every person could read books and read and be able to read and have access to books. So I think it would be the power of literacy, so that I could help people. I could, you know, wave my wand and people could read and have access to books. A lot of you asked about my liquid eyeliner, which is so sweet because it's only recently, well, since BookTube, that I've learned how to do it. The brand, I don't know if they do it anywhere else in the world, but it is a brand within Boots the Chemist over in the UK, and it is called Supercat, and the brand is called Soap and Glory, and it's their Supercat liquid eyeliner. I really like it because it's like a really thin tipped felt tip, so it's got a little bit of hardness to it, because I got a bit wobbly hands when I do it. I watched a load of YouTube tutorials. I just googled like how to do liquid eyeliner and then copied some people. But basically what I do, I'm not going to be able to show this very well, but pretend this is my liquid eyeliner. I sort of don't put it on my eyes, but I sort of follow the line of my eye, and then I follow it up, and then I draw it back down, and then from the tip I draw a triangle into the centre and then just sort of colour it in. A rubbish explanation, but yeah, YouTube tutorials are brilliant. So that's it for some of the personal stuff. I'll be back again with maybe 1 or 2 more videos. There are a lot of questions, so yeah, I hope that these were okay and my answers fulfilled your questions and what you asked, and thank you for asking them, and I look forward to speaking to you all soon. Bye for now, BookTube.